Thank you so much, Minglu. You have brought up so many interesting points. I think people, as you said, to people misunderstood your premise, thinking that innocent girl, that all the female leaders were innocent girl, but it's actually on the contrary. And I agree, I am innocent girl. 我真的是一个无知少女 in Australian settings, true, not party affiliated and intellectual and minority as a colored person and a female. So yes, it is a minority. I have a few questions before I get to the audience. The question straight away is talking about innocent girl, 无知少女, as the female leaders, which turned out actually not many innocent girl in the provincial level leaders. But do you think, two questions. One is, so there are more innocent boys like 无知少男 in the leaders? That's the question. Are there more than 无知少女? The other one, do you think we should encourage more 无知少女 to promote female representation?
Really good questions. Thanks, Professor Han. The first question, are there 无知少男 in Chinese politics? I think if we look at these categories separately, we would have also these marginalized male groups being combined as one, but I think the number might be higher, but the percentage would be lower. So even though there is a much larger group of male leaders of any sort, when we come to these marginalized groups being combined as one, that's a much more common practice with women. So should we promote more 无知少女 in Chinese politics? This is hard, but I personally think any kind of representation of marginalized group of any sort of marginalized groups in important leadership positions would be better than none. But the 无知少女 practice of combining all these different marginalized groups still is questionable. I still feel that there has to be a real commitment to the advancing of the interests of these different groups.
Mm-hmm. My next question is really fascinating, your research, and I sort of can share the joy you are having, the more you into it and the more excited you get. Do you think, or have you found that there are similar studies in China, or are they aware of the things that you are aware in your research, the circumstances?
I think nowadays, just only a couple of past 2 years, I think I start to see a small but growing number of scholarship on women in politics kind of being produced. This is a topic which attracted more attention in the 1990s, but there had been, it seemed to be like a 20 or 30-year gap between then and now. I'm glad I'm now not the only person who is paying more attention to women in China, but there is a group of other actually younger scholars who are looking at the same topic. So that's good.
Yeah, indeed. And I do wish or hope that, there are similar studies in China, because until they become aware of it, and then there is a chance to improve the circumstances of the situation. Clearly, we all agree, no matter who, where we are, that there should be more female representations, everywhere, and particularly in China now, looking at all these 24 male members, it is a startling picture.
Yeah.
I have a short question before I get to the audience. There is age bar in China that I think 60, that a compulsory retirement, so
Yeah.
age bar. Do you think the age bar disadvantage females because they have to get married, they have to have children, so by the time they get to the point that they can be free to pursue their ambitious goals, they sort of will get close to over 50 and 55. So there will be less chance for them to become leaders. So do you think that age bar disadvantage female?
Absolutely. I think particularly in the Chinese context, women, unless if they hit a certain level in the Chinese Communist Party leadership hierarchy, they actually have to retire 5 years earlier than their male colleagues. So a lot of women have to retire at the age of 55, whereas their male colleagues serve another 5 years. So for a lot of them, just they had already been delayed entrance or progress because of their caring duties, their childbearing conditions. Then when these women were fully ready to actually embrace their public roles, they don't have many years left.
Yeah,
that's why I think this very tiny little age difference really matters here.
Yes, that's right. I heard that. 0.5 is actually quite difference made to female potential leaders.
Yeah.
Get to the question, Eileen. Thanks, Eileen, for the question. Eileen says, "Hi, Minglu, your talk is so interesting. I wonder if the innocent girls get co-opted into CCP after participating in provincial politics. Do they face challenges in provincial politics as a non-CCP member?"
Thank you, Eileen. This is a good question. So do they get co-opted into the CCP? My answer is no, because this non-party affiliation has become a status, a special political status. So one actually bears this label of a non-party member. That's one of the, I think, political capitals that many people see that would enable them to enter leadership positions. But then do they face challenges? Absolutely. I think the biggest challenges these non-party members faced is there's no way for them to rise to the next level up, because the next level up would be from the deputy governor position into the governor position. And all provincial governors in China are Communist Party members. Then for this provincial governors to advance even higher party membership is a requirement.
Last part of Eileen's question, can you please comment on how they feel like women about being labeled as innocent girls?
I don't know, because I actually haven't talked to anyone. This is not a research that's conducted through interviews, but I have read about someone else's work in which they interviewed female leaders about what they feel. These non-innocent young girls talking about innocent young girls. There was someone I remember being interviewed. She said, "Okay, I didn't get that position that I was so entitled to get, because I lost to this innocent young girl." I think this is truly unfair. This is really not a full appreciation of my merit. So
it's a good point, a very good point about being labeled as innocent girls, sort of tokenish or not.
Yeah.
But as we just mentioned, in reality, even if it's tokenish, it's still better than none. So we do need more innocent girls regardless at this stage. Kevin has a question. In Australia, there is a significant public discussion about the need for greater participation by women in politics and government. Is there public discussion in China about the need for greater participation by women in the leadership of the party in the government?
Thank you so much, Kevin, for your question. This is another great question. So I would say no. The short answer is no. The longer answer is because the political context has changed. There has been public discussion about the need for greater participation by women in leadership positions, but that was the golden time of the 1990s. What happened then was China became the host of the fourth United Nations World Conference for Women. So that was an important time for China to actually present a very progressive image to the outside world. So at that time, this issue had been discussed quite a lot. I think I discovered a couple of people's daily articles actually really making claims on this. But now the situation has changed. Not just women's political participation is not discussed as a public topic, but also the very concept of feminism seems to have become a taboo. So 2 years ago, I attended a conference in Thailand. A lot of panelists did not show up in this conference. A lot of them actually were Chinese academics working on a topic related to feminism in China. So they were just not allowed to go overseas to talk about this. Very sad.
Well, it is. I mean, in relation to that, and our following question is, did you ever present your research like the one that you are presenting now in China?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this. I did, but I wouldn't name the university. It was a while ago. I presented this research at a Chinese university. But when I received the poster of my talk, I couldn't recognize my topic anymore. My topic had been edited so much to pass the internal censorship system. So not to trigger any kind of internal censorship, it was something very different. My talk very surprisingly attracted a large audience, but a lot of the students were deceived to believe that this is a topic about how they could become a public servant. So they found it very interesting and wanted to come.
That is truly interesting, but I think it's so important to have discussions, public discussions about this as a starting point so that circumstances and situation can be improved. Eileen, you should do your talk on feminism in China. So, it is so much so needed. I have two more burning questions I must ask. One is a short one. I remember one of the stats you showed that between the leaders, female and male, and the education level, a female is so much lower than male, because a male has, masters, so they have so many people who have a masters, and so many males that have PhDs. So, yes, so that was yes, that's right, quite a big difference. But, according to our experience, especially international students, we have so many international students, majority are actually female. So I always have the impression that there are more Chinese girls attending university, or if not more, but roughly about equal. So let's just say about roughly equal male and female students attend, get tertiary education. How come the demarcation is so big? Is that because participation of female in the leadership is so low that skewed the picture?
I think it's because my image is a little bit misleading, because we see this really high red bar, but that's the mere numbers, because there are so many male leaders in this system, so any kind of column, they have a very large number. But I think in general, in comparison, these two groups are relatively equally well educated, but there's a higher percentage of male leaders with a PhD degree. I think 32% versus their female counterparts having 27% of the women have PhD degrees. But if we come to the master's level, women have a higher, the percentage of women with a master's degree would be higher, slightly higher than men. So they break relatively even.
Right.
It's a well-spotted issue.
Yeah. So definitely the participation number, the representation, make a difference to the picture. Last question. I think Kevin mentioned this bit as well, because That has happened in Australia the other day. I was watching this my Australian story or on ABC, and then this female minister actually said when the party turned around to increase the female representation, and then they need to have a quick, immediate fix. And where do they look around? They look around staffers. So they recruited a lot of female MPs or female political leaders from staffers. So the same question as you mentioned, there are not enough female representation in leadership roles. So that actually leads to even fewer in political positions. So there are not many CEOs who are female. So is there a link between these two, leadership and political positions?
I think the link lies in the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is largely a boys' club or an old boys' club. So I have my other project looks at female business owners in China. And this is a project that looks into the significance of being a Communist Party member on business success. So to compare men and women is so clear that the Communist Party is a boys' club. A lot of women just do not have this direct connection with the Communist Party. But in response to that, particularly in the business world, it seems like women are becoming kind of more autonomous because they cannot tap into this political capital that makes them more independent. So they do not seem to need the party membership as much to succeed as the men business owners.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. And also we're really looking forward. We have to have you back to talk about this project once, know, later on. Yeah.
Or my other projects all on women in China.
Yes, it's so interesting and fascinating and so inspiring as well. I think anyone who are listening and who will listen to this talk will feel inspired by, working on solutions, working on something that should be implemented to improve the circumstances. So thank you so much, Dr. Minglu Chen, for this wonderful, eye-opening and very inspiring talk. And I especially appreciate it because I know you are so busy and, got so much to do on a daily basis if it's not increasing. So thank you so much again. So lastly to the audience,
delight.
Lastly to the audience, just letting you know that our next in-person event, I must advertise here because it's so exciting, will be a key dual event. One is IAC 2023 annual address by the renowned expert and academic in Chinese contemporary art and art history, Professor Claire Roberts. 大家熟知的罗清奇教授. So she will give us an annual address. And also we are going to, on the same day, open an historic photographic exhibition by Warren Duncan. Warren Duncan is ABC's second China correspondent who was posted in China in 1975 to 1978, key period, and will showcase some extraordinary photos of Australian national leaders, diplomats, and other professionals in 1970s China. So this dual event will be held on Thursday, 23rd November afternoon at 4 o'clock for 4:30 start. Please save the date 23rd November, 4 p.m. in your calendar, and the invitation will be sent out in 2 weeks. Thanks again, audience, for your interest and for your support to arts and culture. Have a good evening. Bye, Minglu.
Bye, Jing. Thank you, everybody.